Welcome to the AP podcast. Today we have Marci with us. Welcome, Marci.
Hi, Austin.
I'm so glad to have you on the podcast today. Marci has been training for a long time now. I think you said 10 years, right?
Personal training clients for 10 years, yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Training myself for about 17.
So Marci is pretty familiar with the weight room. So that's why I wanted to have her on today, is because she works with a lot of a female demographic, an older female, usually probably 30 and older at least. And she really does a lot with weight loss, and she's actually transitioning into more of strength-based stuff. So I think she has some really valuable information for you guys, both of our viewers probably. So thanks for being on for a second, Marci. I really do appreciate it, seriously.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit of background before we dive into this. Tell us how you kind of got started. You said you were 16. What kind of got you into fitness?
Yeah, well, let me back up about 4 years to when I was 12 years old. And I was an overweight little kid. Like, not obese by any means, but a little on the chunky side, right? Mm-hmm. Very self-conscious. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was summer. Yeah, like I said, I was probably 12, and we were getting ready to go on our annual family vacation to this lake for a week. And I knew that I was going to have to be in a bathing suit, and I just did not feel good about it. I hated how big my legs were. That was like my biggest, I think, insecurity was my legs. And so I started doing like exercise tapes, aerobics tapes in my parents' living room when I was 12, with the hope that it was going to shed all the body fat off of me in, a matter of weeks. It didn't. And then from there, I just kind of that was my, intro to exercise. And then probably the next summer, I actually bought something offline. It was this weight training, I don't even know. It was called The Firm. That's all I remember. And it came with these two little risers, and I had a pair of weights, and I just followed this video. So that was my introduction, into weightlifting. And then I did that for a few years, but again, it didn't really make much of a difference because I was still eating whatever I wanted. That was the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I was about 15 that I really started to learn how to lift weights properly. And then when I was a junior in high school, I was introduced to the program Body for Life. Are you familiar with that? You may be a little young for Body for Life, I think. But so that was all about strength training, high intensity interval training, the 6 small meals a day, 1 cheat meal a week. And that was my introduction into more strength training, clean eating, all of that. So that's really how I got started. And then I was able to lose quite a bit of weight doing that. So my highest weight when I was a kid was maybe 130 pounds, which may not sound like a lot, but I was a kid. So it's not like I had muscle on me, right? It was predominantly body fat. And then once I graduated from high school, I weighed about 110, but my body was, completely different. I had more muscle on me, less body fat. So that's kind of how I got started. And then things just really took off from there when I got to college. And that's when I got my personal training certification and just really started to learn everything that I could about nutrition and training.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's a backstory for sure. I was kind of similar. I went through a pretty chubby stage when I was younger because, well, for one, I'm only 5'6" too, so it kind of so I kind of went outwards instead of upwards. I was waiting for the growth spurt, and it never happened.
It never happened. I'm only 5'2". I had my growth spurt when I was 10, and then I stopped. So I understand.
But perfect. Well, yeah. So it sounds like you've had a lot of experience, kind of trial and erroring different types of training, obviously, and probably now nutrition. I really want to go into how you kind of diagnose and set up certain strength training programs for females trying to get back into it, because taking an athlete that has been training for a while and, knows the weight room, knows all these compound movements and all this different things is going to be totally different than working with somebody just trying to get back into it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, to be honest with you, some of my clients aren't even just getting back into it. They've really never lifted weights before, right? So maybe their only experience with exercise is doing aerobics classes or bar classes or yoga or something like that. So some of the time they come to me just like totally novice lifters. So I really have to teach them how to do these movements properly. And, that can be difficult. It can be a little bit of a learning curve. So with most people, I always start them off with just like body weight movements. So learning the basic movement patterns, learning how to squat, learning how to, hip hinge or deadlift, learning how to, do a proper push-up, proper row, all of those things that really are just like the foundational movements that will, make up the program as we get further into their training.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I see a lot of females will come to me and ask, I just don't know what to be doing. I'm in the gym and, there's so many things there. I don't know which one is the thing that's going to be making me lose weight. And I think that it's great that you bring up that point of body weight is the very first thing, because most people overlook that. They think they need to go right into the weights, right into the, anything like that. But in reality, I think that if you didn't even have the gym, you could obviously lose just as much weight. I mean, muscle building in the first phase of your just getting into it, obviously all the adaptations in the beginning, you're going to be able to accomplish so much with very little, right?
Absolutely. Well, and then the other thing too is I never like to set someone up to fail right off the bat. So they're coming to me already a little apprehensive about what they're going to be doing, right? So maybe they're afraid of getting hurt, or they're afraid of lifting weights and, getting bulky or whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
I really try to ease them into it so that they are comfortable and they have, a little bit of success from the get-go. And then from there, we'll add weight and, progress as we go along. So, maybe they start with a body weight squat, and then they start with a goblet squat. And, sometimes like I will progress them to, barbell movements, but like we were discussing earlier, when just you and I were talking, with my clients and like the population that I train for the most part, especially in person, I mean, it's a lot of women who are, busy moms, they're executives. So I don't do a whole lot of, I guess, work with them it's like, the big barbell lifts. So they're not barbell bench pressing or back squatting or, barbell deadlifting. Not to say that they can't do that, but I have a fairly limited amount of time with these people, and I just try to, get them moving, get them strength training. But, when I only have sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, I don't want to spend too much time like going over the really technical sides of the lifts, which I think if you are doing all of those big barbell movements, it does require a lot more of a learning curve. Mm-hmm. So yeah, primarily for the people that I see in person, I stick to dumbbells, body weight, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And we can still get, a really good training effect just by using that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I guess someone who's just starting to kind of get into it, or what you see with your clients, do you see that, I guess first, how long do you get to see them? 15, half an hour, 45?
No, it's usually longer than that. By the time, once they like actually show up, half the time they're late, right? And they do their warm up. Maybe I have 30 minutes, like usually 45 at the very most, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get through, I would say typically like 6 to 8 exercises with them. And for the most part, because they're only seeing me like 1 to 3 times a week, I'm sticking to full body workouts, set up in a superset or maybe like 3 exercise circuit fashion.
Gotcha. That's what I was
So
going to ask you. Yeah.
yeah, I do tell them like, this is not boot camp. This is not, some sort of cardio class. So it still is strength training, but, I want to fit in as much work as possible while still giving you like a strength training effect. So it's not going to be, super high weight, or excuse me, super high rep, lightweight movements. Like I want to challenge them. I want them lifting as heavy as possible in that hypertrophy range, So sometimes I'll start them off with like a bigger compound movement. Maybe it's like a heavy goblet squat or a heavy landmine deadlift or a pull-up variation, something like that. And then after that, we'll get into supersets, like I said, the 3 exercise circuits, just to kind of, get more work in. But it's still in that, 6 to maybe like 15 rep range.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of females are like. They don't know because high rep is toning, right?
Yes.
So, so for all you guys listening, I mean, that doesn't mean like for females, there's certain things that I have super high reps, like, 15, 20, but honestly, I think that what you're doing is exactly what I like to do as well. I like to put in what I call giant sets,
Yep.
but it's pretty much like a circuit style training. It's just keeping that unactivated muscle group kind of, and you like to do full body. So that's even better. Obviously, because you only work with them 1 to 3 times a week. But I think a big thing I wanted to kind of address was the time you said. I mean, after the warm up, only 30 minutes. A lot of females are thinking that you need to be in there for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours in order to get the results. But that might honestly be hindering the results. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, because if you're in the gym for that long, you're probably doing way too much, more than you need to do. And trust me, like I was guilty of that myself when I first started out. So I definitely followed, more of a bodybuilder type split and was doing, one exercise per workout, maybe 2, tons of sets, tons of reps, different, like many different exercises, and it's spinning my wheels and getting nowhere. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that a great thing you kind of address is full body. I like to use full body with people that are just starting to get into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily for like the adaptation reason of everything, just trying to learn and to not have them get injured right in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But 30 minutes, that's awesome. Yeah, I want to actually probably see about the high. I was gonna say you keep their heart rate high, you keep like a 30-second rest interval.
Yeah, about that. And the one thing with women though, that I really have to teach them to slow down. And that's what I said, going back to me saying like, this is not cardio boot camp, right? So I want you to rest in between sets. Like yes, I want to get a lot of work done, but I want to give them enough recovery time that they can go into their next set with, like full effort, right? So they can still, lift heavy and there's not so much fatigue that's set in. Granted, I think that women can recover a little bit faster than men, but I always say to them, I was like, listen, if you finish an exercise and you can go on to the next one, like 10 seconds later, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like with my own workouts, even if I'm doing supersets or, like a little bit faster based training, like I need a good 30 seconds at least before I go on to the next workout or the next exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not because I'm out of shape, but it's because like I know how to push myself hard enough.
Yeah, kind of fully deplete that phosphocreatine system, kind of.
Yep.
What was I gonna say? You said that you see females recovering faster than males.
Mm-hmm.
Really? And I guess I haven't really looked into that in a sense of I've seen like application, like my clients, but I guess I really haven't paid like super close attention to that. It's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
Tell me a little more about that.
Well, it's not, I don't know if there's like actually studies out there. It's a little bit more anecdotal. And I know that a couple of, like my mentors in the industry, not necessarily people that I know personally, but coaches that I have followed over the years, like Jason Ferrugia, Brett Contreras, who have trained, a lot of females. That's something that they will always say, that they notice their females can recover faster for, the given amount of work that they're doing.
That's interesting with the lower testosterone and everything and all the hormone difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so to be honest, like I don't necessarily know the mechanism behind it, but after training for 10 years, I can definitely say that that's something I noticed for sure.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. That
Yeah.
that's awesome. I want to look into that for sure because that's really interesting to me. The females can definitely recover faster. So does that mean that you see I don't know how many male clients you have or if any, but do you see like a change in volume, like increased volume over their 12-week block or whatever you have them go through?
What do you mean exactly by increase in volume over the block? Like comparing the males to the females?
Yeah, like do you see yourself how you program their training, male versus female? Do you see the increase of not necessarily like the amount of well the weight too, but primarily the amount of sets?
Oh, not necessarily. And it really is just going to depend on the individual
Yeah,
and, like I guess what their goal is, what their status is, so to speak, their age. Like I do have a male client right now who is about to turn, I think, 69. So, and he's been with me for a really long time, but I'm not going to have him do as much volume as say one of my male clients who is like in their 40s, right?
yeah.
And as far as the females go, I really think that they can handle just as much volume as the men can.
Huh. Interesting. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, there you go. The freaking females are better for sure.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, so that's good background for the training and for people listening. It sounds like we can get into it. Literally, just start for one,
Mhm.
but just try to keep the rest low. Kind of get some full body exercises in there. Feel good in the gym. Only spend like half an hour to 45 minutes of that. But I think the next section we're going to go into it would be a lot more important for the weight loss portion, which is the nutrition, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your background in nutrition and how you like to kind of structure your clients. Because some people like to do like a visual construction, and some people like to actually go into the macros. Some does, flexible dieting. Sometimes it's obviously like the 6 meals. Like I like to do that way, but everybody's different.
Sure. So, oh gosh, where do I even start? Let's go back again to like high school. And I had started working out, but I was not making any real progress. So
Hmm.
that was frustrating because at that time I was young. I didn't really understand that nutrition was really the most important factor. So I was doing all the exercising, but I was still eating, pizza for lunch and, you know, ice cream, whatever it was, like all the junk. And yeah, and not like correlating the fact that I could not eat whatever I wanted and still lose weight. So I actually started asking my mom for advice, which was terrible because first time around she said, stop eating so much sugar. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to go like the sugar-free route. Um, but that didn't really help much. And then she told me to not eat as much fat. So I clearly remember thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm not going to eat as much fat. And I was looking at the nutrition labels on things. And this was probably when I was like a sophomore in high school. I
Yeah.
remember eating a packet of Skittles every single day in Spanish class because they had 2.5 grams of fat. And I thought that I was doing something good. And
Yeah.
then I would go to lunch, and there was this frozen yogurt place that we would go to like every day. And I would get a huge frozen yogurt with chocolate sprinkles, again, because it was fat free, not realizing that it was probably 200 grams of carbs. So yeah, I had no nutrition education whatsoever. But then I actually went on Weight Watchers.
Oh.
So my mom signed up for Weight Watchers, and she said, why don't you do it with me? So I actually lost a lot of weight doing that. And I think the reason why, or not because like Weight Watchers is something that I would recommend right now necessarily or at all, but it definitely helps you control your portions. So I was still able to eat whatever I wanted. I just couldn't eat as much. And that was just a way to control calories, right? So I think we know that calorie control is the most important factor when it comes to fat loss. And that's essentially what it did for me. So I did Weight Watchers like for maybe a summer, lost the weight, was feeling pretty good. And then it was when I took that class my junior year and was introduced to Body for Life that I got into the clean eating, 6 small meals a day, all that, like carbs and protein with your first couple meals, and then just protein and vegetables like for the later half of the day. And I stuck to that for a really long time. And then in college, I got even more strict about things and borderline had a little bit of an eating disorder, if I'm going to be honest, right? So very, very restrictive eating habits. Like I pretty much lived on oatmeal, protein powder, and egg whites and sugar-free Jell-O and coffee. And yeah, so that was college. And after I graduated, oh man, Austin, I tried everything. Like I tried keto, I tried if it fits your macros. I mean, like pretty much any diet that was out there, I gave it a shot. And really, I think what worked for me the best though was the, quote unquote flexible dieting. So I've been doing that now for a couple of years, and I realize it doesn't work for everybody, but I like the structure of it, and I don't mind the tracking and, the weighing the food and all that. Like, it's just kind of how my brain works. So yeah, it works for me, but I definitely know that it doesn't work for everybody. And when it comes to your clients, you have to figure out what works best for that person, right? So again, like a lot of my clients are busy professionals with families. Like they don't have the time or the desire to weigh all their food, to put in an app and all that. So with them, like I definitely focus more on habits than counting calories or counting macros. So, teaching them what a portion looks like, how to structure a meal that is going to be satisfying, but also, control their calories.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. That's a good point. And I think that the main thing you were saying there is it depends on the person, right? And so I haven't really been doing flexible dieting as much. I've pretty much stayed in the realm of, I've tried it and I still measure my food, but I think there's a lot of crossover between the flexible dieting and the if you want to call it bro split, I don't know what you want to call it, but kind of like structured your own plan that you kind of just follow throughout the week. For myself, I worked really well with that just because I don't have to think about it, right? Because I'm just busy. So I was like, I don't want to have to, think about plugging all this in and hitting at the end of the day. I have like this many to hit and I'm not that hungry, or you know what I mean? So I do really well off of that. But I understand completely because I have some people that are wanting to do intermittent fasting because they just, in the morning they just don't want to eat, or people like keto because they've had headaches, or they just have like certain problems and they tried a ketogenic diet and it worked really well. So we go with it. So I think that's a big thing with the females that are listening is there's not one diet. There's not one diet that's going to get you from point A to point B. All of them will. You got to pick the one that will work for you, right?
Absolutely. You nailed it. That is so true. Yes, any diet can work, but it is all about finding the one that is sustainable for you and that you're going to be able to stick with, because anything can work for a matter of time. Like, you can white knuckle your way through anything for a couple of weeks, but eventually, that is not going to be sustainable or enjoyable. And that's when most people fall off track, right? Because they picked something that wasn't suitable for their preferences, for their lifestyle, for their schedule, whatever it may be. And there are so many factors that go into finding a diet that works for that individual. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, that's what's most important. So again, like I said earlier, as long as I think calories are controlled, you're eating enough protein, you can do whatever you want and you're going to get results.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree 100%. And you can even, especially when starting out, I've seen a lot of ladies, they've probably been, honestly, I see a lot more restricted diets.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so in the beginning, usually the first feedback, I don't know if you get this, is I have to eat all of this and I'm going to lose weight.
So it's so funny you say that. Like, and I've been having this conversation with a couple of my female clients lately because, and these are women who I did prescribe macros to because they said they wanted to try it. And I used to be like adamant that people had to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, right? That's easy for me to do. I almost have a hard time staying, like, not going over my protein target. Like, I just enjoy protein, but I know that most women don't. But I've since kind of changed my stance on that, and probably because I've been, like, seeing it more in the research too, that now they're saying, okay, well, like 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, or even gram of like goal body weight. So I'm finding myself recommending around like 120 to 130 grams of protein a day for most of my female clients. And they have a really hard time hitting that. Like, I'm getting texts from my online clients, or, some of the women that I do train in person who are doing the macro thing. They're like, oh my gosh, like I can't hit my protein. I was like, okay, first of all, it's not that hard. Like, if you're under by, let's say, 10 grams, that's maybe another couple bites of chicken, or, you know what I mean? Like, if they really thought about it, it's not that much.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I say to them, and like, I mean, I feel kind of bad, and I guess it's just like my tough love mentality, but I'm asking them, like, all right, if you're needing to lose weight and you're having a really hard time eating 120 or 130 grams of protein, then what the hell have you been eating? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, right? Because the calories are coming from somewhere. So I don't know if it's wine. I don't know if it's just like a lot of carbs or what, but it's really interesting to me that they struggle so much to eat that amount of protein, yet they seem to have no problem, eating other things that obviously put the weight on them.
Yeah, no, I agree. That does kind of mind blow me a little bit too. And
Mm-hmm.
I see that. So how I go about the protein intake is I've really had to do a lot of research and trial and error with specific protein powders,
Okay.
because they're like a staple in my programs.
Yeah.
Because not because I think they're better than whole food, but like you're saying, the protein intake. A lot of my females are like, I have to eat all this, really? So I'll have like a really pure isolate, or even a hydrolysate, or something that's just like so absorbed so quickly, I guess. And so that's like and a backup plan too, just in case. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I see that I'm a really high protein guy for sure.
Yeah.
And so I actually go above 1 gram.
Yeah.
Yeah, for even for clients, like especially males, but for females, I'm a little less.
Right.
But yeah, and I see that too, because that's honestly, my first mentality with clients is to immediately, because they're going to be worried about the cravings, right? And so first thing
Mm-hmm.
is clear the pantry of all that junk, have it out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
Obviously still have some things in there that you would enjoy for on the cheat day, or kind of like, for goal setting or something like that. But I push protein, and then it makes them like say, yeah, I don't even want to eat anymore. So that, you know what I mean? So I think that if there's one thing you take out of this whole thing, would be like, raise your protein, and that is going to make you so full that you're going to feel like you're not losing weight, but I promise you, like, it'll be the first thing.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, maybe that's the thing, is because carbohydrates, I think especially the type of carbohydrates that, women tend to eat. So, like, the Lara bars, the granola bars, the cereal, that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, it's not very filling, right? So I think it's easier to overeat those types of foods,
Yeah.
where, like you said, protein is very satiating. So it's going to make you fuller quicker. So maybe that's part of it, is like they feel more full because they're not used to eating that. But I also feel like a lot of women tend not to really enjoy eating meat. So again,
Yeah.
I can't relate to that. Like, give me a big old pork chop and I'm happy.
True.
But I find that with women, it's better for them to eat, like you said, the protein supplements, where they can make a shake or something like that. So they're not like having to chew a big piece of protein. That's helpful. They
Yeah.
tend to do better with eggs, and definitely things like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. I find that to be extremely helpful. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't like to go. Yeah. I
protein
don't.
sources that they enjoy.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I don't like to go. Usually, I see if you start going over 4 ounces of meat in a meal, it starts to get pretty tough for them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's why the flexible dieting thing is kind of really seeing what you can intake at one time, because I think the biggest barrier is that initial, I'm eating all of this and I'm going to lose weight. That doesn't make sense, right? It's not logical to them, right? So, but it is like, it's true. Like, I promise you. And I like that you can either prescribe the macros or have them just do general calories in the beginning, or just say, hey, eat more protein, take out the sugars, drink more water, and I promise you, there will be like 10 pounds right there.
Yeah. Feeling better, less cravings, all of that. It really is. It's a magical macronutrient, that's for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, so I guess correlating with the nutrition, I guess I'll ask you about, do you use a lot of supplementation at all with your females?
I really don't, because everybody's so different. We're all unique. We all require different, nutrients for our own body. But I think that there are supplements that everybody can benefit from. So that would be, like we said, a protein powder, whether that's an ice, a whey protein, a plant-based protein. I know for me, I can't do dairy, so I use a beef protein, which I really enjoy. So protein powders, like across the board, if that's something that somebody does want to use. I think creatine can be really helpful. I use that pretty much every day. Vitamin D is very helpful. Magnesium, most people are deficient in magnesium, and I think if you are training hard, that's a really beneficial supplement. Caffeine, if that's something that you need, you know, coffee, whatever, like however you want to take it. But I think those are the supplements that have really been shown to be effective,
Mhm.
and that a lot of people, well, the vitamin D, the magnesium, most people are deficient in that across the board. So it's really, really beneficial for overall health. And then the other stuff, the creatine, the caffeine, you can kind of like take it or leave it, but I don't see any harm in taking it. And I think that it can only be beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah,
What
no, I
about
agree.
you?
What's that?
What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. What you said, I like to use all of that, and it's funny because I want people to notice that Marcia's not saying hydro fat burning to the max supplementation like this crazy formula that you know what I mean with green tea extract and all this thermogenic, all this marketing stuff. Because a lot of people message me and say, hey, what supplement should I be taking? And I'm like,
Hmm.
well, first of all, what are your goals and what are you eating? Because
Yeah,
it's not going to work unless that's in check, right?
sure.
So I like to use, like you said, some sort of caffeine-based stimulant, or
Hmm.
just caffeine itself with coffee, definitely, because all the benefits of coffee as well. But adding on, I use everything that you're saying, and I add on even more, like sometimes, depending on the person, but estrogen regulating stuff like oh shoot, like Dims, or like carb and broccoli.
Oh,
Carbo free. You know what I'm
not
talking?
sulforaphane.
No,
No.
shoot. I have it here. I can't believe I can't remember the name right now. It's like a formula. It's an atomic formula. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah,
But
no, please do.
anyways, what's
I
that?
think I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
Yeah. So I see some estrogen regulating stuff because depending on what kind of birth control, if they are or if they're not, all that stuff I see plays a role, especially in kind of like more endomorphic females,
Hmm.
and such like that, or or just like people who have like hormonal stuff that's like kind of preventing that energy balance to not be really like benefit. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to be the ultimate thing making you lose weight, right?
Right.
So I do incorporate, if I need to, that kind of stuff to try to seek out. Also, I like to incorporate, because I get a lot of you probably have this too, is a lot of high stress females, whether it's moms or business people, and I try to incorporate. instead of caffeine at first, I'll incorporate some adaptogens, um,
Okay. Sure.
like ashwagandha or that kind of stuff, because to
Yeah.
try to help reboot like the adrenals and just kind of get that under control.
Yeah, that's really important. I'm actually taking ashwagandha right now myself, and some I don't know exactly like everything that's in there, but yeah, like some supplements for estrogen and like hormonal balance and all that. But again, like I won't make those recommendations unless like I really know what somebody like what their unique situation is. But no, I totally agree that those can be helpful. And then
Yeah.
the most important one I totally forgot. Like I recommend that everybody take a probiotic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, gut health is just, it's so important, right? So that's definitely a topic that is becoming, I think, more popular. And I don't know if it's something that you've researched yourself or looked into.
A little bit. I definitely do, especially with like extended abdomens and stuff like that, or just digestion problems, or in
Mhm.
like a weight gaining phase. Usually, I'll start out with food that has like probiotics in it, like organic fermented, like sauerkraut or kimchi or something. I'll start off with that,
Yes,
but some
sir.
people just like don't like the taste, like they're just terrible. So then
Right.
we'll go to like a probiotic supplementation, but I try to how do I say it? I try to utilize like the own body's healing before we go to that supplementation, because then I feel like if you don't kind of regulate that, their body might start relying on the probiotic over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And I don't know, I think, maybe sometimes like your body can get used to it, or you need diversity, right?
Right.
So essentially what a probiotic is, it's these like living organisms that we ingest, and it gives us the beneficial bacteria for our gut, because you want, like, you're going to have some pathogenic bad bacteria in your gut, but you want there to be, the proper balance, like a symbiotic relationship, so to speak, between, the good stuff and the bad stuff. And that's what the probiotics help with. But you do want the diversity. So if you're taking the same probiotic like over and over again for, years on end, then you're not going to be getting the diversity that your gut probably needs or
Yeah.
does need. So I think either, rotating the probiotic that you take is helpful, as well as, like you said, just incorporating the fermented foods, the probiotic foods into your diet. So that's not to say that everyone needs to actually take the pill. But yeah, like for me, I mean, I don't love sauerkraut. I don't love kimchi, like all of those things. I'm dairy intolerant, so I can't have, like the fermented yogurt or things like that. But no, I totally agree on what you
Have
said.
you used, I haven't used this really, but like prebiotics or a different sort of digestion mechanism?
Yeah, no, so I have not really experimented with the prebiotics, but it's good that you brought that up, because that's essentially what the probiotics feed off of. So I know that prebiotic foods are like, gosh, I want to say Jerusalem artichokes, I know are one. The other ones are escaping me, but I definitely think that it's something that people should be cognizant of and trying to incorporate, in their diet along with the probiotic foods as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
good
That makes
call.
sense. Yeah, no, I think that gut health is something that I'm I think that, that my structuring of nutrition has just been like incorporating it without my knowledge of incorporating it.
Mhm.
I mean, I have obviously experience with the probiotics and stuff like I was talking about, but the science behind it and really diagnosing into, there's a lot of food groups and a lot of stuff that I am still not aware of that really has to do with gut health, because the more coaches that I talk to, like the more important gut health is becoming to me and researching it, because everybody I've talked to, including you, obviously, they're like, yeah, gut health, gut health, gut health, gut health. And it's so,
Yep.
so important. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I think the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I did develop an autoimmune disease when I was in college. And so right now I have two. I have psoriasis and Hashimoto's. And they say, all disease begins in your gut. And really, you cannot, it's been confirmed that you cannot have an autoimmune disease in without the presence of what's called leaky gut. So like essentially gut permeability, and and that happens, from a number of factors. So there is a genetic component, but stress and the foods that we eat, environmental issues, all of that kind of stuff. So like for someone like myself, it's imperative that I keep my gut health a priority, or else like I will continue to exasperate my autoimmune diseases and potentially set myself up for getting more. So that's why, I am so kind of, I really have to pay attention to it. And there are foods that I have to avoid because they aggravate my gut. There are things that I really make sure that I incorporate, lifestyle modifications, all of that. But yeah, I really try to stress the importance of taking care of your gut for everybody, not just those people who have autoimmune diseases like I do, but for the prevention of that stuff down the road.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Prevention is so key. We live in a society that's treatment, and prevention I see is so important. And I wish that it was not always about money. So it's not always about treatment, right? So it can actually
Mm-hmm.
prevent things from happening. So I really
Yeah.
like to start getting into like different medicine research and stuff like that, natural herbs and stuff like that, because uh, there's a lot to that, and it kind of goes into what you're saying about gut health. Um, so important, and the more, like I said, the more I talk to more coaches, it's like, wow, like I knew that it's important, but I didn't know it's like it's a base. It's like the staple of starting from the base. You know what I mean?
It really is. Yes. It's the absolute foundation for your health. Yeah.
So so now we kind of went through training, how to set up that, or kind of the progression you were talking about with your diet, finding the right one for you. Supplementation, we kind of went through some stuff for females that I think will work really well. Is there really anything else? Anything else that you suggest? What about like accountability? How would you like have them, or do you have a system or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, for my one-on-one clients, the people that I see in person, the accountability is just, I see them multiple times a week. And they can obviously, reach out to me over text message, things like that. So, and not everybody chooses to do that. And I'm not really the type of coach who, I'm not necessarily a cheerleader, right? So I'm not going to be checking in on you all the time. Like, I feel like that's your responsibility. And I will give you the guidance that you need and the knowledge, and I will support you. But at the end of the day, like it's really on that person to decide, if this is something that they want and to take the action and be accountable to themselves. So I am more than happy to support them if they need my support. But at the end of the day, like I want to teach them how to set up their lifestyle so that when I'm no longer around, because like I can't work with people forever, right? Their relationship at some point will probably end, and I want to know that they are set up for success to go out and live their life, on their own. And
Afterwards,
then go on.
afterwards, yeah.
Yeah. And then, with my online clients, basically I do weekly check-ins with them. So they fill out a questionnaire at the end of the week and we go over that. And then throughout the week, they're obviously allowed to email me, text me, whatever, if they have questions and need, that accountability support. But yeah, I'm not necessarily the type of coach who is going to be checking in on you. Hey, did you go to the gym? Hey, did you hit your macros? Right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think that there's a fine line there, because I've done both now. I've been the tough love coach and I've been the cheerleader to try to see, different business structures, and it all comes
Right.
back to like the type of person that you're working with. Uh,
It's true.
so I've seen myself go switch from demographics. Like I used to work with a lot of athletes, which I really enjoy, and that was more of like, all right, tough love, like get this done. I'm going to you to tell me at the end of the
Yes.
week that you did this, because I'm going to see it in your check-ins if you did. And they love that. And then with maybe like some older demographic, maybe a little more people with lower self-confidence or insecurities, they need that initial like confidence in themselves before I can do the tough love. You know what I mean? because it was a scary feeling in the first place to kind of get into the program. So
Sure, but that's a really good point. Like, and I shouldn't say that I just like throw them to the wolves like right off the bat.
no, I didn't,
Yeah,
I
no.
wasn't saying that you
I'm
were
like,
doing
oh
that.
my god, I just made
I
myself.
understand, and like obviously, like I wish we all wish that you tell somebody to do something and they do it, right? Like we all wish as a coach, like that's how it is, but that's not necessarily always what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And in the beginning, like if someone, doesn't know how to count macros or they really have no idea what they're doing, of course I am going to be there to support them. But I guess all I was saying is that, yeah, I'm just not the type of person who will be checking in on you every
Yeah.
day. I will
Yeah.
definitely be there to support you if you reach out and ask me, like, how's it going? Or, not how's it going, but like that you need my help.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just kind of the hands off a little bit unless they reach out to me.
Yeah. No, I am trying to maintain that for sure. Because once you cross the line, you can't really go back, right?
No, you can. You
So,
got to set your boundaries too. Well, that's the other thing, right? Like if you respond to every text message or from the very beginning start checking in on them all the time, then that's the expectation that you set. So it's fine if that's the type of coach you are and that's like how you want to do your coaching process and you're okay being on your phone or your email all the time, and that works for you and your clients, then by all means do it. But I think you have to kind of, be true to who you are and what's going to work for you and what is going to prevent, burnout and all of that so that you can give your all and your best to your clients when needed.
yeah. No, I agree 100%. 100%. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, kind of wrapping it up. I think there was some really great information pretty much from point A to point B, like setting up everything. I think this is going to be some great content for people to get started. But I think that if they have like questions or they're going through things, definitely reach out to Marci first, probably. And then you can also
Yes,
reach
please
out.
do.
What's that?
I said, please do.
Yeah. So we're always looking to help. That's why we obviously are doing this right now, is because it can be intimidating. It can be confusing because there's a lot of information on the internet. And we kind of try to take it from a third party view instead of marketing the certain diet. We're telling you that, it's okay and that you're going to be able to accomplish your goals once you find the right program for you. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Just make sure your calories are in check, make sure you're eating that protein, and the rest can really be, whatever you want it to be.
Awesome.
Whether that's 3 meals a day, 6 meals a day, more carbs, more fats, it's all personal preference. But just, yeah, calories, protein, those are the two most important things.
Yeah, perfect. Well,
that's what I would leave you with.
Leave me with? Perfect. Well, yeah, I'm going to put Marci's Instagram. She has a pretty decent following, a lot more than me. She has some great content. I've been looking through it. She has all of these posts about whether it's nutrition or training or just like goal setting. And there's so much stuff on her page. I strongly suggest you go check it out because it's super applicable. It's not her just ranting. It's like her having actual like diagrams of things going on. So definitely go check it out. I'm going to link it up in the description box. Also, Marci, I'll put your email too so they can contact you if they have any questions. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin.
Yeah. So if you guys have questions for me, I'll put my Instagram and email in the description as well. But if you liked the content, if you love Marci, if you really like Marci, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There's going to be plenty of more information to come with all types of demographics. So we really appreciate you guys listening. Marci, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Austin. It was a great time.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time. See ya.
See ya.